lot about the Seahawks over the last 4 or 5 weeks, Bump, and that was also because it was the toughest part of the schedule and like one of the tougher stretches of a schedule I can remember for a Seahawks team. But what did we learn specifically? Bump and I are going to talk about this, obviously, and what we learned about this team, but feel free to chime into this conversation. We'll have our eyes on the Mac and Jack's text line. That number is 866-979-3776. Bump, what's one thing we learned about the Seahawks during this gauntlet?
One thing that we learned is that we learned where they are, like as a team as far as where they stack up to some of the best teams in the league. Because you got to play the red-hot 49ers. Well, actually, the 49ers were coming off of a couple losses, I believe. But the most talented team in the league, you got to play them twice in 3 weeks, and you improve. Right, you lose 31-13 that first time around, then you lose 28-16. I know you look at the yards, the explosives, and when you look at the numbers, you think the scores are like 40-2 every time, right? But you got better. You also showed that offensively, you are capable of getting into a shootout like you did with the Dallas Cowboys. So this was like a measuring stick. And then you showed that you can be resilient and win a game that you weren't favored to win, but you necessarily weren't picked to just get blown out in the Philadelphia Eagles. So before we get into X's and O's, team identity-wise, you figured out that you're competitive because you were in 4 weeks, minus the first week against the 49ers. Then you lose 17-16 against the Rams. But every other game then, other than that first week against the 49ers, you were competitive. And you did it in a couple different ways, right? You have Geno as your quarterback against the Niners and the Cowboys. Compete against the Cowboys, Niners weren't too good. Your backup quarterback comes in against the 49ers. You hang around and have a chance to at least get the game close towards the end, not able to do it. And then you showed that you have a good quarterback in Drew Lock when you lose to the Philadelphia Eagles 20-17. So the first thing I'm looking at is just, all right, we know where they stand as far as talent in the NFL. I think they are could be a 10-win team, but I think they're like the 6th or 7th best team in the NFC right now, and that could be good enough for you to sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm kind of working backwards with your point. I don't think that I drastically changed my mind about how good overall the Seahawks are, or, I think they could still be a playoff team. I also didn't think entering the gauntlet that they were a Super Bowl team.
Right.
While they had made a trade and a win-now move and a move, that being the trade for Leonard Williams, that indicated like, hey, we're a playoff team. That's who we are this year. That's what that's the sacrifices we're making. Those are the trades we're making. That's the cost we're paying. I don't know that I saw them as a Super Bowl team. So that didn't change my mind. And coming out of the gauntlet, while they don't fully control their own destiny, a loss by the Vikings, a loss by, I think the Rams or something, and you do. And then you went out and you are in control of it. So you're pretty close to being able to control your own destiny. I think the thing that sticks with me is the defensive stuff. They had struggled with that heading into this. Like, they had struggled defensively against the Rams. You know what I mean? But I think that heading into the gauntlet, we were like, hey, the offense has really been underperforming. The defense can't get off the field. I think that I have seen, with a healthier offensive line, some more optimism for the offense, whereas I have question marks for the defense. I say this knowing that Julian Love just had 2 interceptions and including a game-sealing interception. Like, I say this knowing they did what they needed to do and that they improved with the pass in the second half. But I guess I have more questions about the defense leaving the gauntlet.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point.
Yeah, you can go ahead and jump to it. I'll let you.
Yeah, the defense. And I'm looking at the numbers. You allowed 166 yards on the ground against the Niners the first time, 72 against Dallas, 173 the second time against the Niners, and 178 against Philly on Monday. That's 196 yards per game during that stretch right there. You have to get better against the run if you are the Seahawks, because we know what happens in December and January, the way our solar system works and the way the world tilts, in December and January.
Given the axis.
It gets a bit colder. and unless you aren't playing Philly, unless you are indoors at Dallas, unless you are indoors at Minnesota, there's a chance that you could be outside, right? Green Bay Packers, I think they're almost eliminated. We shall see. But either way it goes, whether indoors or outdoors, once you get into the playoffs, you have to be able to defend the run. I think games get more physical in the playoffs, and you go with the high percentage plays. And you're going to play against running backs like DeAndre Swift if you get in. You got Pollard, who is more than capable as well. So you have to get better against the run. You're giving up $196 per game the last 4. That opens everything else up. So the defense, they were capable or able to turn the ball over the past couple of weeks, which is good. You need turnovers. You can have a team rush for a lot of yards, but if you keep them out the red zone and you force turnovers, you take the football away, you give yourself a better chance. So I'm looking at the run defense and I'm saying, all right, got to get Mo better right there. Mo better.
Something I learned is related to a text that I just got from the Mac and Jack's text line, 425. Did Stacy just say the Seahawks could be a playoff team? Are you kidding me? You're out of your mind. That's just absolutely ridiculous to think or say. Come on, get real. Get real with the audience. They have a 55% chance to make the playoffs following this win. I did not say they would be a top playoff team. I did not say they would be a Super Bowl team. I said, mathematically, they can still get to the playoffs. They don't control their own destiny. They need like a pair of losses from 2 other NFC teams or whatever because they're in a tiebreaker right now. But that if they win out and they have like a Vikings loss and a Rams loss or something, I think they're in. Now, the reason I say this and the reason I point to the text is because, Bump, what I learned over this gauntlet is how many people would rather the Seahawks just tank. That how many people,
Crazy.
when a season isn't going your way, would rather your team not touch the playoffs at all. And how many people don't realize how toxic that can be for a locker room.
Yeah, tanking is never good. And what is tanking in the NFL, honestly? Tanking is coaches putting out a garbage lineup and saying, let's see how this goes. You forget that the guys who are in the lineup, the guys who are actually on the field, are not going to not play hard. That's not how this game works. They would not be in the NFL if that was their mentality. And you get hurt that way. If you're not going a hundo on a football field, you are likely to get hurt. You're already going to get hurt eventually in the NFL. Now, you're not going hard. That's crazy. Now, to support what you said about the playoffs, they can get in. All right. The Vikings are at the 6th spot, 7-7. The Rams, 7th spot, 7-7. Now, you need one of these teams to drop a game. The Vikings have the Lions, the Packers, and the Lions. They are losing one of those games to the Lions, possibly both of them, and you never know with the Packers because, yes, Jordan Love and the gang lost last week. They're playing some decent football. The Rams have the Saints, the Giants, and the Niners. Now, if they lose to the Niners, I'm assuming they're going to lose to the Niners, okay? The Rams still hold the tiebreaker. So you really need the Rams to lose a couple, right? Either you need the Vikings to lose 1, lose 2, all right, and it doesn't matter what the Rams do, or you need the Rams to lose a couple of those games. I can see them losing to the Niners, and the Saints are a sneaky defense as well. So you never really know. So, yeah, man, the playoffs is a real possibility. We're not just saying this because we're just
we would be lying if we said they're done.
Exactly.
Like, that would be not a fact, so why would we say it?
Yeah, we're just spitting facts.
And also, like, I personally would love to see this team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Better for my job, better for their job if they're in the playoffs.
Heck yeah.